Monday, everybody, and welcome back to the Couchside Judges. I'm Scott Fontana. Follow me on Twitter at Scott_Fontana.
And I'm Dan Urban. Follow me at The Dan Urban. Follow the podcast at Couchside Judges. And subscribe to us wherever you listen.
And it's time to give us that 5-star review because I know you like this show.
As always, we taught judging in MMA. Head on over to abcboxing.com to read the scoring criteria.
Boy, I tell you, sir, the scoring criteria probably gets mentioned like 10 times more often after a fight than it used to when we started this show.
Yeah, and no one reads it still, so.
No, they don't. They don't read it.
They just want judges fired. They think they're the worst in the world.
I do. I know.
Kind of insane.
I know, and you're not wrong, but I really do feel like there is something good coming out of the fact that people are just talking about it more. I think there's a push for more people to want to get educated. I mean, how much was our role in it? I feel like it was a small part of it, but not a big one. People who listened to it, hopefully it helped. And I think people like Sean Sheehan, who have a much bigger platform than we do as far as the reach in terms of what they're talking about with the criteria, right? I was at right for the New York Post, and that's a big platform, but it's different when you're talking about social media, right?
Sean definitely has the biggest platform when it comes to judging
and
scoring and all this stuff.
But I think ultimately the efforts of people like Sean and again to an extent us as well and other people, I think it's really helping. Aaron Bronstetter too has also taken up the cause within the last year or so. And he's obviously got a big reach as well. So I think having people like that, educated people that people like really trust and are willing to listen to, I think it's helped.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely some media members that are on my list.
You do have that list, don't you?
Like, it's just stupid, calling for their heads every week.
No,
it's very annoying.
It gets really old. The whole circular argument everybody has about it. But because I wasn't actually watching the fights like fully yesterday. Like I tried to put it on a little bit. I don't know. I don't even know if I mentioned it last week, but I was away this weekend in Maryland for a bachelor party.
Oh, nice.
One of my buddies is getting married next month, so we went down to Ocean City. We had a nice time.
That's a fun city.
It was a good time. I was disappointed though because the two foods that I was very much looking forward to having there are gone.
Okay.
Just like
What were they?
Wiped from the face of the earth. At Secrets, you know Secrets?
Right, Secrets is good.
Secrets had, when I went there 10 years ago, they had something called crab pizza on the menu. Crab pizza, the best way I always described it to people was if you've had Domino's cheesy bread, imagine there's crab meat with it too.
Okay.
And
That's
it was
pretty good.
It was definitely better than I made it sound. It was fantastic. Gone. Not on their menu anymore. So I didn't even bother going to Secrets. Right. Not worth my time if I can't get that there. I don't drink, as you know. So and then number 2, I was hoping to get a pizza cone. Do you know what a pizza cone is, sir? I don't know what a
pizza cone is.
A pizza cone is exactly what it sounds like. It is a cone filled with pizza.
Yeah, okay.
And it was really delicious when I had one 10 years ago, once again, when I was in Motion City. And it was at a place called, I think it was called like Tiki Sunrise or something like that on the boardwalk, right? So I'm getting excited for it. I'm hoping to get over the boardwalk. We're talking about it at dinner. And I'm like, all right, well, where is it? Let me just make sure it's there. And sure enough, that place closed at some point in the last 10 years. I'm going to just take a stab in the dark that it was in the last couple of years.
Yeah, most likely.
Yeah, it makes sense. So that is also gone. That was only one place did it. Like, if you go to the boardwalk, literally you can't walk 5 feet without running into somewhere that has fried Oreos,
okay,
which are delicious. And I had in their stead of the pizza cone. But the pizza cone itself, you can only get at this one location on the boardwalk, and that is the outcome. I'm disappointed.
I mean, that's a first that someone leaves New Jersey and is disappointed that they couldn't get pizza.
But that's the thing. It's not
New Jersey.
It's not pizza. It's a pizza cone.
Oh.
It's different, man. Like if I want pizza, I don't get it in Maryland. Like they had ordered pizza before I had arrived, and it was sitting there. So yeah, I had a slice, and it was Maryland pizza. It was whatever. If you live in Maryland and you're offended by this, I'm sorry. Just come to Jersey, and I'll take you somewhere better. I'm happy to do it.
Kind of was. I'm a little shocked at the two foods. I thought you were gonna be like, no, they ran out of crabs.
No, literally, the crabs went extinct. No more crabs on the planet.
Or Old Bay with like got shut down. There was no shipment of anything.
Yeah, right. But to get back to the point of the fights and everything like that, because I was away, it wasn't a priority for me to sit down and watch the fights. I was hanging out, having a good time. I tried to catch them here and there. I was watching Chase Hooper and Felipe Colares through the glass of the shower that I was taking. So like it was fogging up and everything like that. So I'm kind of watching scrambles and things like that. I of course we're going to talk about a round from that fight at some point later on. I went back and watched that fight to score in full and not through a foggy shower window.
All right.
So I made sure to do that. But ultimately, yeah, I'm not able to sit down and really watch the fights. But we did get to a bar that we kind of sat down in for a little while, and it was in time for Holly Holm's fight. So I said, okay, I'll sit down and watch this. And, I'm in a bar. I'm surrounded by my buddies who are playing drinking games and things like that. And, I'm semi-participatory. I'm not actually drinking alcohol, but, we're all having a good time, right? And I'm watching this fight, and the first 3 rounds of it, I'm like, well, this is kind of a crappy, terrible fight. And then it starts to get kind of interesting in round 4 and round 5, where at least there's a little bit more of let's say, distance striking going on, right?
Mm.
So that made it a little bit more interesting. But let's put it this way: none of my friends who were around and like checking in on my phone here and there were like, "Man, I should watch more of this sport." It didn't sell any new fans. There were no converts that night.
I had one night, just staying on topic. I was at a bar years ago, and it just with my friends, and just so happened Diego and Clay Guida were on the TV, and they were like, "Yeah, I like that," and then they still never watched it.
Well, if they're not going to watch more of that after they watch that fight, then it's really just nothing's going to do it.
Yeah.
That fight, by the way, that was the first UFC main event the day after I met my wife.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Everything's MMA related.
I relate a lot of things, especially in the first year or two with my wife. Now wife, obviously not at the time, but I can figure out a lot of things like what I was doing with her based on the UFC calendar. Like our first date was the day before UFC 100.
Scheduled around UFC 100, I'm sure.
I don't use these dates as passwords, so no one's gonna learn anything out of this. But I'm just saying this is just kind of interesting stuff. Not violating any of my own security as a result. But yeah, it didn't really sell anybody. It was just kind of like a fight that happened, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm kind of giving myself a break from watching the fights in the sense of like participating in the social media conversation. I'm checking in here and there, and trying not to be like totally absent, because it's nice to be kind of a part of it and not go away from that. And I did want to watch the fights. Like I didn't watch Holly Holm versus Ketlen Vieira for 25 minutes in a bar because I don't like fighting, and put it that way. But this is not the fight that I walked away from and I said, "Oh yeah, I mean, people are gonna go crazy about this one."
Mm-hmm.
They went crazy about this decision, sir.
I don't know.
What the hell? 48-47 both ways in a fight that no one got robbed. First off, let's just start at base level. There's no robbery here. Holy heck, is there no robbery in this fight? Number 2, it's not a good fight.
It's a bad fight.
It's a bad fight. It's not a horrible fight, because we've had some horrible fights lately. 2 of which were for titles in the last month in 2 different organizations. We don't even need to talk about those,
No.
but nonetheless, this doesn't make the top 2. That's how bad we've had it lately.
Yeah, this was just still a bad fight.
It was still a bad fight. But why is everyone going nuts about this? Like, seriously, this is not what I expected to turn on Twitter. And not only did they go nuts, it almost felt like a heightened sense of nuttery. I'm making up the word nuttery here.
I get the betting community.
Sure.
Had a strong opinion on this.
As they always will and should always be ignored. Sorry if that's your thing. Like, if you're mad because your bet lost in a close fight, you're going to be mad no matter what. And if you got the good side, you're going to get one eventually. It always balances out, right?
Holly Holm, a fan favorite, losing a split.
People do like her, yes.
So that's going to fuel it. But I always expect the MMA community to be irrational about something.
That's true. That's a good point. They love that.
This was just something to latch on to.
I feel like they were bored, right? Yeah. Like they literally had no reactions to come off of this card. So like, let's just go nuts about judging.
I mean, maybe they were upset about the co-main with Ponzinibbio getting the split decision loss, and it just kind of snowballed.
Yeah,
perhaps?
yeah. There was DC who was like mad that he said that on I think it was on YouTube, right? Today, Sunday, that he couldn't understand why there would be a 30-27 for Michel Pereira in there. He said at least one round should have gone to Santiago Ponzinibbio. Now, that almost seems to imply that someone's sitting there at the end of the fight and saying, well, I got to give one of these to them. Right? Like, that doesn't work that way. It's not like someone sat there and said, oh, it's close enough. You got to give him one of the rounds so it looks like 29-28 is a better score. That's not how it works.
Each round is independent of itself.
That's not how it works. And DC knows that. I think he really does.
He mentioned something that he's attending a judging conference.
He did say a judging conference.
I wonder if that's ABC or not.
Yeah, I don't know that he meant. I saw you react to that.
I was like, hey, I'd love to meet DC.
You're gonna go fan out for him. No, I hope that he means the actual ABC conference because I think that's where you get real training there. Mm-hmm. But if he doesn't, if he just means even like the California one, the California meeting that they do every couple of months, which I'm very disappointed I didn't get to sit in this time. I was out for a dinner and a movie date with my wife this time, so I missed that. And then it was a week earlier they had the one in England too, and I missed that one as well because I literally just lost track of the day. And I feel very terrible that I missed both of these because I like the idea of both of them, and I've never done the England one too, so I'm very excited for that one. Yeah. The day that it comes along and I actually get to sit in. So hopefully he actually is going to attend like an actual training seminar and go through it because I think one, they should film it for ESPN, and that would be fun because I think it could do several things. It could entertain because DC is entertaining if nothing else. Really, he's knowledgeable, if nothing else, too, as far as fighting goes, except for the criteria where he's very unknowledgeable. He has a lot to offer, though. Everywhere else, he's got a lot to offer. But yeah, I hope he's there. If he's there, I'd love to have a conversation with him about that kind of thing, too. A respectful conversation. Happy to do that. But yeah, it's nice that he's at least talking about the idea of doing it. So we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, they're in London, UFC.
Yeah,
that weekend. So
I don't imagine he probably
wouldn't be. He probably wouldn't be on the commentary team that weekend.
And I imagine a lot of the domestic judges here would be able to attend that conference for training if they so choose and are available to. I hope to see them there as well.
Yeah, that would be cool.
One could, do they need the training? I don't know, but do they need a refresher? I don't know. It's an interesting question. There's a lot of people who will say, they would like to see, and this is one of those arguments they make, like, as far as like what they want changed with judging, right? How to make judging better. They want judges to get recertified every year. That's not really how this works, but I mean, how bad could training be? I guess I don't know.
Yeah.
I have no idea. That's up for judges to tell me why that makes sense, or say why I'm an a-hole for suggesting that. I don't know.
I'd love a judge to come out and say, "We're talking about practice,
not a game, not a game. We're talking about practice." Allen Iverson's a legend. I love that man. But yeah, this is not the fight that I thought people would go crazy about, and it totally was. And it was round 3 of this fight. We'll get to that in a little bit, but before we do, real quick. Ketlen Vieira got the win over Holly Holm, right? Close fight, argument either way, fine. We'll get to that. But as far as the fact that she does have the victory here in the 135-pound division, she would be a potential fresh challenger for whoever emerges from Juliana Pena defending her title for the first time against Amanda Nunes, who she obviously won it from. Do you think that she should be next and will be next?
No.
Neither one.
I think Amanda Nunes is next.
I mean, after that, dude.
Oh, right, but no. I think they're gonna do Pennington and Vieira for title eliminator.
Okay.
They're both fresh challengers, and they're.
Well, it depends on who it is, because if Amanda Nunes wins the belt.
Yeah. Okay. That's. I'm jumping ahead of myself.
You are.
But at the current moment, we're good.
I see. Okay. I would think that actually they would give it to Ketlen Vieira at this point. I mean, it is a good question because is she the most compelling name? Not necessarily. Is she coming off of a fight where she really made her case? Not even necessarily there. Although honestly, I thought she had a pretty solid fight. I think she was the one who was more willing to try and.
She was trying to finish.
There was that very memeable moment from round 2 where she had the kind of that choke going on there, and Holly's face looked real weird.
She was She was in a bad spot there. If she had any control over her lower body, I think she would have got it.
There were several memes created from that. It was like when your dog swallows something, you got to get it out or something like that. It just looked like that. Who put that out there? I think Ben the Bane Davis put it out there, and Hectic did as well.
Oh no, I do not want to talk about Ben the Bane Davis. No.
Is it because he's associated with Verdict?
Yes.
I see. Ben's harmless.
If he drops Verdict, he will become a friend instead of a foe. That app is horrible. The way it's being used to say judging is bad. I
have a lot of issues with the way they market it. Is the thing. I've come to the point now with the way I look at Verdict that it's like, if you just view it as like a game,
it's just a game.
It's just a game. If you treat it like just a game, it's perfectly fine. Have fun with it. Have a good time. But when it's treated as if this is the way of judging's future, like, just stop with that. I mean, it was put out there. They said it was like one of the most lopsided things with 49-46 for Holly Holm. And like everybody from Caposa to whoever was looking at it and be like, nah, this is exactly why you can never let the fans do this, because they totally ruined it. They blew their chance to look like any competent people as far as scoring fights. And this is proof of the pudding, right?
Yep.
So, yeah, I'm at the point now where I regard it as like, okay, and I know people who really do just use it because they like to make their picks, right?
Yeah, just make your picks.
And there's a lot of people who do that. They kind of want to be able to track who I thought who I thought would win the fight, and then who actually won the fight. So that's pretty much it. If it's just that, fine. Just don't think that you're actually a replacement for the judge. You're not.
Not even close.
I promise you're not. But yeah, I think that was enough as far as kind of the lead up here. We do have 9 contested rounds. There were 13 out of 22 were unanimous, and the other 9 were not. So it was a tougher event as far as finding the same page as one another, these judges. But yeah. I think there's a lot of close rounds here, right?
I think there's
a degree of randomness in terms of which events you're gonna get more or fewer of these kind of close rounds, right? It's just luck of the draw. Overall, it typically ends up there's about a 70% rate of unanimity. Here's kind of where it balances out. Maybe what was it, like 80 something last week? So yeah, here's the counterbalance, right? So let's get into contested rounds, starting with, once again, Ketlen Vieira getting the win over Holly Holm. Split decision. Round 3 is our split round. What happened in this round, sir?
It is a close round. It opens with Vieira. She lands a nice 2-piece and a leg kick. Then Holm works herself to a clinch and resumes her, just hang out here for a while. She's throwing a couple Storley knees to say, hey, look at me.
Right. I forgot the Storley knees, yes.
Look at me. I'm doing something. But, nothing really there. Definitely not fighting to finish. So as the round goes on, they separate. Vieira lands another nice right. Holly works the body with the kicks. Drops her with one of the kicks, kind of. But is it really a drop? I think it's more.
Didn't seem like a drop. I was going to challenge you a little bit.
Like
there.
Here, it's like when someone gets dropped to the head, it's because their equilibrium's off, at least for a split second. To the body, it's more. I don't know. It's just kind of like brute force knocking you over.
I mean, it depends, though. They're not all created equal, sir.
Exactly. But if you get hit to the liver, they're hurt. They're crumbling over. She wasn't crumbling over. She kind of got just pushed back on her butt.
There's this thing with knockdowns in mixed martial arts that people want them to be like boxing knockdowns, where a boxing knockdown means they were hurt. And really, in boxing, when they're knocked down, almost always they're really hurt. There's exceptions. We've seen it, and we've seen some times where it's like, was it a slip? Was it a knockdown? And it gets ruled a knockdown, and you're like, come on. These things happen, of course, in boxing. These things happen in MMA.
And the thing is, they have a ref there to make that decision on the fly, right?
Right. So. Exactly. So it's a little different. But in MMA, people will get obsessed with they got a knockdown. It's like, well, what does it matter if it's a knockdown? Were they actually hurt, or did they just kind of fall to the ground? They got back up and they're fine. I would look at it more as they really should track times where they were visibly rocked. That's what I want. I want them to track that kind of thing.
Yeah,
that's more interesting, and I think it's more meaningful in terms of how you would actually score the fight. How many times was somebody in trouble, in actual trouble, as opposed to just, hey, you got them off their feet, good on you. When you kick someone's leg out, did it really hurt their leg, or did you just happen to get them off balance? You know, there are differences there.
Yeah,
They
was
both
time
happen.
just perfect?
They both happen. But how much are you really weighing that? I don't know. I mean, that's for a judge to tell me how they would do it, but
it's a good strike for Holly, I think.
Yeah.
Overall.
I'm not saying it doesn't count.
But then they clinch again. And Holm, she starts landing a bunch of lefts to the face. She's digging her forehead into the jaw, smacking her in the head with the left. I thought these were pretty decent shots. But when they separate, Vieira lands a solid right hand straight down the pipe. Then against the cage, she lands another big right. Holm's eye is starting to swell up pretty good. It's the immediate impact for me. I got 10-9 Vieira.
I do too. I think ultimately, yeah, you're talking about how much more immediately impactful these strikes are. They're landing heavier. They look like they're landing heavier than what Holly Holm is delivering. It's, to me, I looked at this round and I said, well, she's the one who looks like she's getting closer to a finish based on the actions she's successfully executing on her opponent.
Mm-hmm.
And that, if I understand the criteria correctly, it's aimed at that. That's what we're looking to determine in terms of effective striking, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I side with Ketlen Vieira here, but it's close enough that shoot, you could potentially weigh what Holly Holm is doing, you know, to a higher degree. Maybe you missed a strike here or there because of positioning, that kind of thing. It's not a high volume round. It's not like the lowest volume round either, but because there's extended periods of kind of leaning against the cage and that kind of thing, you're not getting enough of the distance strikes that you really want to see.
Right.
To be able to differentiate who's winning. But yeah, I mean, I feel solid in giving this one to Ketlen Vieira. I also just don't think it's that bad to go the other way. And I think it's crazy that more people think it's crazier to give it to Vieira than to Holly Holm. It's not that it's bad to go for Holm. It's that they think it's crazy not to go for Holm.
They're all about that control, I guess.
I don't know. I really hope, and I'm going to beat this drum until it changes. I really hope they change the wording and the criteria where they actually eliminate the word control from the tertiary criteria. It should be a different word entirely. Take the word control out of it, like, entirely, unless you're putting it in there to mean what UFC, what fans refer to as control. It should match what everybody's saying. It has to, because there's confusion, and there's no need for it.
Dom Cruz could write it. He'd write ring generalship.
Ring generalship would get in there, yeah, because it's always, as we all know, most cage fights are in a ring, by definition. Come on, Dom. Just stop. It's not in there. Quit beating the drum. Anyway, that's all I really want to say about this fight. I hope that we've beaten it into the ground and won't talk about this fight again, because it wasn't even that interesting. It just wasn't.
It wasn't, no.
No, and I do like Holly Holm. I spoke to her for a feature this week. We had a great conversation. I think I made I wrote a nice little feature about her as well. I was happy to tell the story of how she kind of, she's beginning her journey of fighting after 40. And I don't write her off in the least. I mean, she still has that star power. She looked good enough in the fight that you could argue that she won. So she's probably just one more victory away, or maybe not. We've seen people get fights for titles after losses if it's close enough. Depends what Dana thinks, right?
Mm-hmm.
So who knows? Maybe she gets the next title shot anyway. Wacky sport we got. Let's move on, though. I'm done with it, right? Are you done with it?
I'm done with it.
All right. Let's move on to Michel Pereira getting the win over Santiago Ponzinibbio. We spoke about this before. 130-27, excuse me, a 29-28. And then the other way, 29-28. That one for Ponzinibbio. So rounds 2 and 3 are what we're talking about. Start with 2, my friend. What is going on in round 2?
Good mix of strikes. Pereira's landed a solid right out the gate, and it seems like it's competitive, but he's the one that's landing the heavier, more damaging strikes. His leg kicks are heavy. About halfway through, Ponzinibbio is like, hey, wait, I'm in this fight too. Lands a couple solid shots and actually starts coming alive. It's like, oh, Ponzinibbio's turning it on here. From here on out, it's both guys that are landing some pretty good shots, though. I think it's close but clear for Pereira, but Ponz never really closed the gap for me from the early part of the round, so that's why I'm on him 10-9.
I was really, really, really close to giving this one to Ponzinibbio. I thought he almost did close the gap, but ultimately I just didn't pull the trigger on.
Okay.
That's really all I have to add to what you said, but I think it's really close. I think it's so razor close. So the fact that this went the other way, one way or the other, no problem. But I don't think I mentioned, by the way, I'll shout the previous round out before we talk about this one. So one more time, we have to talk about Vieira and Holm. The judges, how they scored round 3. It was Mike Bell and Derek Cleary had this for Vieira, and it was Sal D'Amato who had it for Holly Holm.
So he's their hero.
Yes,
this
Sal
time.
D'Amato is the hero now for all the people who really thought that Holly Holm got robbed. You need to leave Sal D'Amato alone. My God, you can't just ignore it every time that he does things you like, because the one time you remembered out of the billion times he does things, you didn't like it. All right? Cut it out. All right, now I'm really done talking about that fight. But the judges in this fight, Pereira and Ponzinibbio, it's Mike Bell and Ron McCarthy had it for Pereira, and I did too. And Junichiro Kamijo had this for Ponzinibbio. So close round again. Yeah. Round 3.
Great round of fighting. I thought both guys really went for it here.
They did.
Ponzinibbio kept the momentum from round 2, and he was popping Pereira good. Pereira kept firing back, but he seemed to catch a lot of air, at least early in the round. Pons kept landing with big impact throughout. Towards the end, Pereira found the head a lot more. I think it's a close round. Was a fun round, but I like it for Ponzinibbio 10-9. I do think you can go here, Pereira, no problem, though.
Yeah, absolutely. They both do excellent work. They're both they're trying to hurt the other guy.
Yeah, they both wanted to finish.
They're both, not only they're both trying, they're both landing and doing their part to make it happen. It's just, these are two tough individuals, and they're both able to dish it out enough to keep the other in and keep the other off balance. And yeah, I sided the same way you did with Ponzinibbio here, and that's the majority as well. Judges Bell and Kamijo seeing it that way, with Ron McCarthy on his own seeing this one for Michel Pereira. So he had the 30-27 scorecard that DC didn't like. He doesn't mention the name of the judge because it's always just the judge from them. I don't know if it's because they're trying to protect the judges or if they're just too lazy to look up the names of the judges. But like, if you're going to call them out, I almost feel like you're better off saying the name. Although, obviously that has its downside. But let's just talk real quick about Ron McCarthy, because I don't know that we talk all that often about Ron McCarthy.
Okay.
He is really one of the best, sharpest, especially from a statistical standpoint. He's really one of the best judges there is out there.
Yeah,
and we don't talk about him as much because I don't think he's ended up in any sort of controversial situations thus far. It comes for everyone.
Yeah,
and I'm sure he knows that.
I also think he's on a lot more Bellator than he is UFC.
He's done a bunch of Bellator. I think
it seems like he's not a top rotation for the UFC events or for Vegas, it seems.
I don't know if that's necessarily true. I think
he's just not on as many. Just what I'm saying.
From what I understand is because he's also a law enforcement officer.
Maybe he can't do it.
I think it's probably just the limitations of having that schedule and having a family and that kind of thing. That's kind of what I've heard about the man. So we don't see him every week because he's got other stuff to do, and this isn't a full-time job.
Gotcha.
So I don't think it has anything to do with that. But he's gotten title fight assignments, and I think deservedly so. And I think he's done a really good job with everything that he's gotten. So no one's saying his name in this instance, and I guess probably ultimately it is better off that someone with DC's platform isn't name checking and kind of throwing people under the bus. But look, Ron McCarthy is the son of Big John McCarthy. I'll bet you they both have pretty thick skin and can handle the criticism. Yeah. But either way, he doesn't deserve criticism. He's a damn good judge. So I just wanted to get that little sidebar out there on Judge Ron McCarthy. Let's move on, though, sir, because we do have a whole fight that we got to break down. Yeah. It's been a long time since we've done every round of a fight.
I can't remember the last
one. I can't remember it either. It does happen, and it doesn't necessarily mean that the judges bungled it because every round is off. It just sometimes it's the way it breaks out. So let's give it this fight its due. Jung Young Park got the win over Eric Anders. Split decision, 29-28 all around. Round 1. We're going to start at. And the judges for this one, by the way, we'll just get it out of the way. Sal D'Amato, Mike Bell, and Anthony Maness are on this fight. So, round 1, what's happening?
Anders lands about 6 or 7 good strikes. Park lands about 6 or 7 good strikes. And then the rest of the round is just filler of Anders holding on the clinch, doing nothing, while Park has a headlock with no offense, just kind of a stalemate. I think of the strikes that were landed, I think Anders landed better. I score for him, but it was a low output round.
Yeah, accurate. I felt really good about Anders here, just because again, it seemed like that was where the damage was coming from, and yeah, low output. So it's kind of hard if you didn't see that many of the strikes. Maybe you had a bad angle. Maybe it starts to look closer. I don't know. Judge Maness was on Park for this round, so that's what he saw. That's fine. I didn't see it that way, but I just don't think this is the round to go crazy about. And not just because it's not an interesting round. It's just, it has more to do with that. Like, you got to give every round its due, right? Because I've seen people trying to be out there, and it's almost like they're trying to make a defense for, even when it's a bad fight, there could be a robbery, right? Just because it's a bad fight doesn't mean it's not a robbery. It's like, well, right, but also it's not a robbery.
Yeah.
There's also just that part. But you're right, 100%. A bad fight could also have somebody be robbed. I think you can almost get close to calling Storley and an MVP in that kind of conversation. I won't go there. I stopped short of it, but it's probably closer to one than a lot of the fights we've talked about.
I'd say it's closer, but you still, at some point, the fighters themselves deserve blame for a bad fight. So I can't. MVP should have done more then.
Yeah, so, that's the thing. It does get very tough. That's why I do stop short of it. I don't actually go that route. But as far as, if you're telling me what's the closest we've had to a robbery, let's say since Gleison Tibau got the win over Rory McDonald last year, it probably is that fight. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's just in a round with such little output, you can miss one thing here or there, and it's just, it can go the other way. Or, maybe it is something along the lines of, hey, judges are scoring it in such a strange way, whether they're actually grading how long they were there first. Like if it was on the mat, that's where you go first. That kind of that old school mentality. I'm very curious to see if that gets taught still when we go up to ABC. I hope it doesn't. And if it does, I plan on asking a ton of questions and like really kind of, and not trying to be like a jerk and not trying to be a nudge. I'm really just trying to get to the heart of how things work, All
right.
I'm gonna ask a lot of questions. I'm a journalist. I'm
gonna try to see if DC wants to go to dinner.
That's fine. I'm sure you're gonna do that. But yeah, so let's move on though. Round 2, we got to get this whole fight in, right?
Yeah. Oh, I forgot. Yeah, we got 2 more rounds.
2 more rounds in this one.
Yeah. All right, round 2, another close round. I think Anders landed the strikes that really stood out, the more immediately impactful ones. He lands like 3 solid 1-2 combos that looked very effective early in the round. Park responds with a couple nice shots of his own. It's a very competitive round, and I think Anders just had more impact on his strikes. I don't think Park's were as effective. I feel when Park lands, it's in close. He's not getting the big pop on it. And when Anders lands, he's getting a full extension, and it just feels harder. Either way, close competitive round. No beef either way. But I'm on Anders, 10-9.
I'm with you, and I'm with Mike Bell. Sal D'Amato and Anthony Maness were the ones who had this one for Park. Yeah, really close round. Hard to go crazy about it because it was actually a much better round than that first round. It just was significantly.
The fight got better as it went on, I feel.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, you and I were only with Mike Bell. So what does that mean for Judge Bell?
Couch side override. I almost forgot about that.
Maybe it should be a bell when it's Mike Bell.
Ding.
It should ring a bell. No, we'll stick with the horn. I think that's okay.
All right.
And the horn being my mouth. Round 3, sir.
It's all Park for the first 2 minutes, it seems. Anders picks up some momentum, but his strikes look like they lost a lot of steam on him. I think the impact is definitely in Park's favor throughout this round. Anders does get a few good ones off, but I think this is Park's round. But again, still a close competitive round. But I'm on 10-9 Park.
I'm also on 10-9 Park. Same reasons. Not crazy. Could kind of go either way. Judges D'Amato and Bell had it this way. Judge Maness was the out judge for the second time in this fight.
Okay.
So that's the way he had it. I think we watched a close fight. In every 5-minute period, it was a close fight for different reasons in some cases, right?
More exciting in 2 and 3.
Sure. Could you find 3 judges that would get on the same page in this round or any of these rounds? Probably. There's probably a lot of rounds that you could just get. You'd end up finding if it was different individuals there, maybe they would all get on the same page. But ultimately, I still think because this is a close fight, and even though you and I had this round or this fight 29-28 for Anders, who got the loss, by no means is this a robbery. It's just a close fight. It didn't go his way. Sometimes that's the way it works. He finds himself in a lot of these close fights. There's something to it, and it's not that there's people out to get him. It's that he's really got to find ways to be able to put more power in and be able to finish it. Hurt his opponents. It's not easy. John Young Park is a tough guy. Iron Turtle, right?
That's his name.
I believe that is his nickname, isn't it?
Cool.
I love that nickname. Double check that for me. I'm just trying to remember. But while you check that, I should also point out that Judges Bell and Manus had opposing scorecards. They agreed on 0 rounds in this fight. But again, it's you could see it. You could see why. It's just, I imagine the two of them probably had an interesting conversation. They're like, oh, you saw every round the other way, right? But probably ultimately because they're pros and look at it the same way we do, except they know even better. Mm-hmm. They probably were like, hey, close fights, close rounds, man. Probably it, right? I'm just speculating.
Yeah, I don't think it got heated or even debated heavily. It was probably like, I can see where you're coming from.
I don't know. I heard Mike Bell was going to murder him.
That's not good.
No. Did you check? Is the Iron
Turtle?
That's what I thought. I love that name. It's a wonderful name. So yeah, we did have the one couch side there, but nonetheless. Let's go to. We only got 3 more rounds now. Three different fights here, all on the earlier prelims. Uros Medic got the win over Omar Morales. Round 2 TKO, but round 1 was close. So why are we talking about it?
I think Medic. Hawley's landed a little bit better. Both guys seem to have good defense, good offense, which is probably why this round is close. Both attacked the body. Morales had a big right early, a couple inside leg kicks and body kicks. Medic landed some body kicks, landed good to the head. And then the end, a big shot, which had some good heavy effects from Medic that really kind of put the stamp on it for me. So I'm 10-9 Medic.
No, that's fine. I think ultimately I sided with Morales because, again, really close round here. I think there's enough being landed on his end that it can kind of make up for it.
Yeah, I got no issues here.
It's really just neither one of these guys had seemed to me to be like definitively pulling away.
No, they were neck and neck, and that's how I felt, and that's why the end really helped me go to Medic.
Sure, and that's fine. I have no problem with you going that way. Hopefully, you don't have a problem with me. Obviously, judges Jaron Vallel and Junichiro Kamijo were on the same side as me. You saw it the same way as Mike Bell, who now probably wants to murder me because I'm telling him, I'm calling him a murderer. But now that's proving the point. So, no, I'm kidding. This is just silly, stupid joke. It's been a long weekend, a fun weekend, but a long weekend, my friend. 2 more rounds. Let's go over to Chase Hooper. Round 3 TKO over Felipe Colares. Round 2 was split, though.
Yeah, really close round. I think Colares' ground and pound is what makes it that close. He landed about 4 hard elbows when he had side control. Mm-hmm. I think Hooper, on the whole, was the more effective grappler. He had 2 armbar attacks, none very close. Both transitioned into good positions, but Hooper landed a nice couple strikes on the feet at the start of the round before it hit the mat. Then I thought the heel hook was the best sub-attack. Then he mounted and finished with some ground and pound. I think he wins it for me, just ever so slightly, 10-9 Hooper.
I did give it to Colares, as judges Adelaide Bird and Mike Bell did. Apparently I see everything the way Mike Bell did. Or no, you do. Actually, we're split this. No, I don't know what I'm talking about.
No,
long weekend.
You're
man.
On Mike Bell's side.
I know. I'm all over is what I'm saying. But yes, you saw it the same way as Sal D'Amato, who saw this one for Hooper. I saw it for Colares. Yeah, I think probably a lot of those sub attempts, they didn't look that close. Ultimately, is why I didn't end up scoring them very heavily because it's good that they're happening, but I just don't think that there was enough getting there to say, oh, this is something really worth scoring. I think the strikes that we're talking about with Colares are where I kind of ended up.
Well, I got to Hooper based on the final mount and ground and pound.
Sure, and that's fine. Yeah. I was very close too, but ultimately I sided with Colares here, and then Hooper took the need for the judges out of the hands in round 3.
Yeah,
he's got a habit of winning in round 3. I think this is second or is it his 3rd time?
He's basically Yoel.
He's young Yoel. Chase I also spoke to in the lead up to this fight, and he had a good conversation with him as well. He seems like a cool guy.
Yeah, he sounds like a cool dude.
The one thing I liked, a few things I liked off of that. I shared a few things, and I think you read it. But one thing that I thought was fun and it made me feel very old was when he's like, I said, "What's your favorite or your first entry or earliest memory of watching MMA?" He's like, "I think I was like 7 or 8. My dad was watching Chuck Liddell." And a lot of people are like, "Yeah, I used to take the tapes out from Blockbuster."
Yeah,
like. Has Chase Hooper been to Blockbuster? I should have asked him that. Although he lives in the Pacific Northwest, which is where I think in Oregon,
yeah,
is where the last one is. He's in Washington State, but yeah, I think that it's right. In Oregon is where the last one is. So He could probably drive to it if he wanted to. Is he going to? Probably not, but you know.
I can still smell how Blockbuster smells when I walk in.
I can't. What does smell like?
You
Describe
don't know
it.
That pop. You can smell the popcorn. You can smell like the fake candy chocolate smell emanating from the box. It's an iconic smell.
I guess it didn't resonate. The odor didn't resonate for me. How big was your Blockbuster? Was it a big one?
Oh, it was big, yeah.
Okay, yeah, mine was big too. The one in my town. Did you go to not Blockbuster, but before Blockbuster got to your area, did you have other video game rental places you went to?
I remember like a mom and pop video store, very small, and I would always rent like SummerSlam 1990 or Survivor Series 89, something like that.
This is for Nintendo?
No, this was not video games. This was like actual VHS tapes.
Yeah.
I never really rented many video games because I was like, well, gotta return it in 2 days. I'm not gonna get close to beating it.
Yeah.
What's going on?
That's true. No, it was a mom and pop place by me too, because we didn't get. I feel like we were late to get a Blockbuster. I want to say it was probably like mid 90s, maybe a little. It might have been 93 ish, 94. But yeah, I definitely went to a mom and pop place to get some movies, get some tapes and things like that. But I rented like some of the Mega Man games on Nintendo at this video rental place.
Okay.
Which I don't even know when it went away, but once Blockbuster came along, it was like, well, we're not going there anymore.
Yeah.
Blockbuster's better. There was also another place in a different town that actually I guess you'd probably call it mom and pop, but it had like a decent feel to it. You know, it actually had like a cool vibe and everything, but then ultimately it's been a few things over the years. It ended up being a hobby shop for a while too. So it had like people would go there and play like Pokemon and Magic the Gathering, that kind of thing.
I can't imagine the high school kid that was working behind the counter when they didn't have what I wanted. Can you check the return?
Speaking of Pokemon cards, I had sold recently, I think I told you, a Pokemon card of mine for $1,100. I probably got that Pokemon card like around the time Chase Hooper was born.
Wow.
So, yeah, that just hit me while we were talking about this. All that says is we're getting old.
Okay, moving on.
Last round, sir. From the opening fight of the night, Sam Hughes, who got the victory over Elise Reed, another third round TKO. Round 2 is the round we're talking about once again. What happened in round 2?
Sam Page gets a quick takedown, straight to side control, lands some elbows. Nothing much though. In there, it's pretty much the same for the rest of the round. To half guard, back to side, land some strikes here and there. Final 30 seconds, she gets the mount, and in the final 10 seconds, she really starts pushing it for a finish, landing good. I can see it getting to a 10-8 in that final surge, but it wasn't enough for me. I wish she pushed harder. She probably would have got a finish if she started going for that earlier. However, it's just a 10-9 for me.
I thought it was just a 10-9 too. I would like this to be 10-8 for the record.
Well, that's what I'm saying. There's only one fighter you can score this round for.
Yeah.
And in rounds like that, I wish they were 10-8s.
I wish it was much easier to justify in the criteria like definitively as opposed to just can consider, right?
Yeah.
That once you can only justify this round one way, it should be a different score.
Yeah.
Only 100%.
I like it.
I think we need something there. I think someone can build language around that idea, I feel like. But will they? I don't know.
Maybe.
I guess we could dream, right? And that was it for the rounds. That was all 9 of them. Finish-wise, we had 6 finishes. We already mentioned a few of them. 4 TKOs or KOs and 2 subs. 3 ended in the first round. Is that right?
3 first rounds,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. What was your favorite?
Joseph Holmes. Knee drops Alan Amandovsky. Probably could have called it right there. Doesn't. And he's like, I'm going to stop hitting you. I'm just going to choke you out. I like that.
You do like that, though.
Yeah.
Big fan of chokes.
I did. That was a big, heavy strike and a sub.
A little bit of everything, yeah.
Got a little bit of it all there.
No decision, though.
No decision.
No, they didn't do. For me, it was Chidi and Njokuani.
Yeah.
The one finish from the main card, which was the main card was okay. It was just okay. But this was a highlight. Huge highlight. Smashes Duško Todorovic right near the end of the first round with a standing elbow. Doesn't need to follow up at all. He just kind of gets to walk off.
I guess that kind of explains why Todorovic was so wrestle heavy early. Like, I don't want to get knocked out.
Yeah, but then he put his head way too close to the elbows. Yeah. Therein lies the problem.
That's an issue.
a good advice, I would think, and I don't want to tell fighters what to do, but if it was me and I was to fight Chidi Njokuani, I would do everything I could to run away. Just to stay away. He's got a long reach. He hits hard. I don't want a part of that.
Stay away.
Yeah. Let's make it can we just do jiu-jitsu content?
Sure.
He'll probably still tap me, but I won't get knocked out.
Your brain will be intact.
Yes, I like that. I like my brain. It's a good brain. I think so. But that is it. And not only is that it, we don't have fights next week. We finally get a rare break in not only the UFC schedule, but in the entire mixed martial arts calendar schedule.
You know what's funny?
Except for, obviously we're talking about bigger events and especially domestic events, North American events. But
it's funny. Spencer Kite, when he was doing his preview for this event, he's like, to compare this to wrestling, usually they have one big blow off event before their pay-per-view. This is the complete opposite. They're having their go home show before a week off to return to another fight night before going to a pay-per-view.
Yeah. It's about that's about the Bizarro World version of it.
So I don't know what we're going to do next week. Any suggestions?
I think we should go to Past Judgment. It's been a long time, sir. I've been doing some research into a bunch of fights that could work for us to watch and maybe have some interesting scores to turn out based on the that CSJ criteria, which we almost never use anymore.
Yeah, we got to dust it off.
Remind new listeners how it works, and hopefully have some fun. We could do one or two. We'll see, depending on if we pick 3-round or 5-round fights, that kind of thing. Yeah, because it's a light week, right?
Light week in fighting, yeah.
What are you gonna do without live fights to watch at all next week?
I mean,
obviously Memorial Day weekend.
Yeah, I'm actually on Friday. I have a ticket to CFFC, so down in Philly, I'm gonna go to that.
Well, like I said, MMA is not off. It's just major North American MMA.
Yeah, so I'm going to go watch CFFC.
Mm-hmm. That's right. You did ask me if I could go, and I said I don't think I could. It would be nice, but I don't see it. I'm sorry. But yeah, me, I'm working, as I mentioned, but I'll find some time to hopefully do some things with obviously my kids and my wife, and, maybe we'll get outside, go get some ice cream, maybe do a little barbecuing. Throw some burgers on the grill.
Yeah, you can't go wrong with that.
That's what I would like to do. Just a little bit of time with my family.
That does it for this episode of the Couchside Judges. We'll be back again on Monday with no live fights to break down, but we may do Past Judgment.
Yeah, we just said that.
Yeah. So I'm
now y'all know.
Recapping.
That's right. We could even do it one more time before the music ends.
Past Judgment next Monday.
Everybody enjoy Memorial Day weekend. Don't forget why we celebrate. Take care. We'll talk to you Monday.
Thanks for listening.